Hi, everyone. My name's Robert Faber. I'm presenting today on behalf of Team Gizmo Gang. The game that we're recreating for the Capstone project is a little known game called Gizmo on Steam. I'll kind of just pull it up for you real quick so that you just kind of can get an idea of what Gizmo looks like. So this is the Steam page for Gizmo. It's a free-to-play game. It has a little bit. It's a 3D kind of action platformer puzzle game. As you can kind of tell, this is pretty generic art in terms of style. Nothing too crazy, nothing too out of there. So I'll open up our game back here in Unreal. This is our main menu. We stylized it after the Gizmo game that we're recreating's menu. Obviously, you see we have the 3D text, the pipes that the player kind of sees their character standing on, and then like the 3D menu buttons and whatnot. So when you play it, as you can see, the cog spins in the O for Gizmo. The player kind of just moves. They breathe a little bit. They do the basic kind of mannequin functions. When you hit the options button, it pulls up this UI overlay where you can adjust the volume with sounds and sound effects that kind of accompany the button presses. You can also hit play. Pulls up this button, this little widget. Where you can select your level that you'd like to choose from, or you can start the game from the beginning. And about that pulls up a widget that gives all of our references, all of our team name, members, and an exit button that just takes you right back out of the game to the desktop. So we're kind of just going to go through each level and talk about the art style and kind of what the creative vision is for our game and kind of what we're striving towards here. I'm going to open up my own level for the purpose of this video, just so that way we can kind of get an idea of where we're at and what we kind of want to do. So when you first play my level, I'll just show you here. We're trying to kind of make this like a factory, a evil scientists like secret Arctic base, which is kind of exactly what they do in the real Gizmo game. I have some screenshots here real quick of kind of what we're trying to go for. This is kind of like, this is a little gif of the Gizmo character, but it's very much a lot of snow. It's very much a lot of like Arctic feel to it, which our game doesn't really have a lot of right now because of art and, the limitations that we've kind of just had using, 3D assets that we're making just in the editor. But we're trying to go for more of a secret Arctic base, with traps, with, the building is kind of kept out in the snow. So it's kind of worn down over the years. Doesn't have the greatest upkeep, but it also has kind of a futuristic vibe to it, I guess, as you could say. It is something that's probably more in the future in terms of setting, just because the character protagonist, Gizmo, is a robot that you control that has a bunch of different moves and whatnot. So it's definitely something that's probably not current day and more future than anything. Games that I kind of would compare this to in terms of just style and overall feel. Ratchet and Clank, either one of them, Rift Apart really kind of comes to mind. Both of the Psychonauts games. Spyro is another one that I kind of think of in terms of just like general gameplay and functionality of the game. But here, we'll just play it, kind of walk through. We have these fences here with some keep out signs for the factory. We run, we can jump, we can dive, we get hit by the fan, we can respawn back here. But yeah, our menu and our UI is very basic. You can hit P to pause, pulls up very similar widgets and whatnot. But the creative vision we kind of have for the game is a futuristic sci-fi action platformer that's set in like a 3D Arctic base with, kind of like a factory setting almost. Like you can kind of tell we already have our pipe assets, the statue of the scientist, these floating platforms that are thematic with the game. The things that we're kind of lacking on, though, are like the traps are very generic. The fans are pretty generic. Obviously, the signage, the materials, the textures, like this button, this box that we can move around, it's all very, very generic. just because we built it here in the editor, and we kind of just made them quickly. Another thing too is that we have these collectibles. The one-up one that you just saw there, obviously I didn't make that very clear, but I'll go through here and I'll just show you. Things like that the player picks up, collectibles, items like that, they're not very detailed right now. I made this one just kind of in the editor. When the player sees it, it has a rotating movement component on it, so it just spins it, kind of draws the player towards it. But as you can see, it's kind of just a bunch of cubes meshed together that gives the player the impression that there's a health pickup for them. And the same with this time one over here. It's just the same exact thing. Just a circular object with a bunch of little markers on them that just rotates. So nothing really advanced there. Maybe some things that we can kind of work to improve. We did have one of our team members model some 3D assets for us in Blender already, which is why we have these pipes and we have the doors and we have the platforms, just because we kind of did that from the very beginning without even thinking about this assignment or where the game would kind of go in a future direction. So those are things that we're very much still going to keep just because they're thematic with the game. So like the platforms are very much things that we are going to keep. The door here that moves up and down, definitely something we're going to keep. But things like the button here, this little jump pad button, which we designed very quickly. This is a jump pad, hard to believe, but when the player steps on it, they are jettisoned into the air. So something like this is something that we're absolutely going to want to replace with something that's just a little bit more thematic. Materials, textures for the walls. I did make this lava material very quickly. Obviously nothing special, but yeah, things for the walls, things for the floors. The assets for our bots are very much needing some attention. Right now, they're just very, very basic things that we made in the editor too. This is the turret bot that you're seeing now. When the player comes into the line of vision of this bot, it just shoots a projectile at them. And then we have two other bots. One that's a snow blower, which just shoots a snow projectile and a little bit of arc in front of them. And then a air bot, as you can say, that shoots a big cone of air at the player. I'll actually pull that up real quick just so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like in the real game. So 1 second. So this is what the turret bot looks like. And you can kind of just see, pardon the audio, but you can kind of see the bot and how it functions in the real game. Very much just something that when the player is in front of, it starts shooting at them. We try to model that as best we could and with the little time as possible that we had. But going forward, also, we have the air bot here and the snowblower bot, both which have their own functionalities. This is of the snowblower bot, which is just a bot that kind of walks back and forth and then does this little blast of snow onto the ground. Doesn't have a very large radius, but it's still something that will do damage to the player if they get hit by it. Excuse me. So that's kind of where we were at when we tried to model this one here. Obviously, it's very basic. It was very, very temporary, but still provides the functionality that we needed for the time being. And then lastly, the airbot looks like this. And when the player stands in front of that beam, if they get hit by it, they are died. They lose a bit of health. They go back to their last checkpoint, respawn, whatever. But yeah, as you can see, it kind of shoots a blast of air forward. The player can go under it. They could jump over it if they wanted to, but they just can't get hit by that. So all the bots, I think, like this one and the Snowbot, have very, very similar designs, but separate functionality. And then lastly, we have this secret quote-unquote collectible. Doesn't really provide anything for the player other than something that kind of is like a special item, key item for them to look for in the level. We'd like to update with something that looks a little bit more interesting and makes a little bit more thematic sense, as well as this little grapple thing When the player jumps off the jump pad, they can use the C key to grapple to this and use the grapple functionality that we have to take them to the other side. But the area where the player jumps onto and grapples is pretty uninspiring at the moment. Anyway, I know that I'm taking up a whole lot of your time, so I'm just going to kind of wrap this up with a little bit more creative vision ideas that we have for the game, and just reiterate a lot of the points that I already made. So yeah, it's a 3D action puzzle platformer. Gizmo is a little robot, as you saw. He is very much different from the mannequin that we have in the game currently. The mannequin also has a little bit different mechanically functionality than Gizmo does, but for the most part, you can replicate a lot of the things that Gizmo does. You can do the ground pound. We have a crouch, a prone, functionality for the character. They have a little dash that they can do. There's a sprint system with a full stamina bar, health, etc. But the little Gizmo robot is something that we'd also like to replace if possible with something that's more thematic to the original game, or just with the creative vision that we have. So yeah, I very much appreciate you watching this video, and if there are art team members out there that are watching this, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this, and we at Gizmo Gang very much look forward to working with you. So take care and have a good day, and we'll talk to you very soon.